I will call this work session of the San Marcos City Council to order. Today is Tuesday, March 3rd. Yes, it is already March of 2026. The time is 3:01 p.m. Ms. Trevino, let's see who's in their places with bright shining faces.
Ms. Rodriguez.
Here.
Mr. Pacell.
Here.
Ms. Garza. Mayor Houston.
Here.
Mr. Scott.
Here.
Mr. Mendoza.
Here.
Mr. Gonzalez. We have a quorum present.
Citizen comment period. For work session, I see 4 people signed up. One may be online. Is our online person there? Okay, I don't see anybody in chamber, so we'll go with the online.
Me.
There you go, Mr. Baker, your turn.
Yes, my name is Maxfield Baker, and I really appreciate having 3 minutes to talk today and every chance I have to talk because, oftentimes it can be really difficult to figure out exactly what to say, and especially for folks that don't do a lot of public speaking. Citizen comment, it takes a lot of nerve and work for people to get up and do this, and I think sometimes, elected officials can forget what it's like to stand on the other side of the podium. And I myself, having sat in the big fancy chairs, still get nervous every time I go up to do citizen comment, unlike how I felt when I was sitting in the seat of power. There's a real physical difference. And 3 minutes is just barely enough time to give someone to say something heartfelt about one issue, let alone if there are multiple things for them to address at that meeting. As a part of that, I do want to kind of announce that the Civics Club is actually working on an event to encourage people to participate in citizen comment period, both at City Council and at our boards and commissions, because we find it is truly one of the most effective ways to get y'all's attention. And to, we send you emails and there's no guarantee that you read or heard those or even felt what we were intending to express. And it's disheartening to see that seemingly under attack. And so we had already actually planned to do this event. It's going to be on April the 4th, on Saturday, April 4th at the Eddie Durham Park. We just got our confirmation from this from the city. It's going to be from 2 to 6 p.m. It's going to be called Speak Up. And we're going to be embracing art and activism with some music there at Eddie Durham Park. And then we're going to give you, the community, a chance to use the microphone to speak up. And, just like at Citizen Comment, you can talk about whatever you like. I just noticed the timer was just put up for me, so I don't know how much more time I have left to speak.
I think you've got about a minute.
About a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Thank you. So, with that being said, I really hope folks prioritize making it out to our event on the 4th. Join us at our Civics Club. We meet the 4th Monday of every month at Tantra from 6:30 to 8:30. And we're here to address these issues of access and transparency that are seemingly an ongoing fight at every other council meeting, to make sure that our local government isn't hidden behind closed doors and that we as a community have a chance to direct where things are going in this town. Thank you very much.
Okay, and I don't see anyone else here, so we will move on to item 1. Ms. Trevino.
Receive a staff presentation regarding the current status of American Rescue Plan Act funding and provide direction to the city manager.
Ms. Reyes.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Our presentation this afternoon is an update on funding received through the American Rescue Plan Act. Funds were required to be obligated by December 31st, 2024, and all funds should be spent by December 31st, 2026. As we have continued to implement and close out some projects, we have identified some excess funds that are available to be used for already existing obligations. Again, it has to be contracts that are already in place in order for the funds to be distributed among those particular recipients. Today, we will present a proposed reallocation, receive feedback, and a resolution will be placed on a future council meeting for consideration. I'd like to recognize Director of Administrative Services, Hayden Meagle, for his diligent management of this funding stream. He has taken it and run with it, even though we didn't have a whole lot of direction from the federal government when it was first allocated, and I really want to say he's done a great job of managing this program. So thank you. Without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Meagle.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Hayden Meagle, Director of Administrative Services. Luckily, this might be one of the last ones of these that you receive from me, because we have to have it all spent by the end of this year. I'm going to begin with a quick update on the federal pandemic funding that the city received. I'm also seeking council direction on a proposed reallocation of ARPA funding. Next slide. The most recent council action was approval of a resolution in August of 2025 that reallocated the funds. Next slide. Want to take a quick moment and acknowledge where we currently are in the process. City Council allocated funding towards 78 projects and programs, and staff worked diligently to ensure that all of these were obligated prior to the December 31st, 2024 deadline. We will continue implementing a few final projects to ensure all funds are spent by the December 31st, 2026 deadline, and continue working with our consultant, Booth Management Consulting, to ensure we close out all of the projects and have proper documentation. Next slide. The next few slides provide an update on activity so far. The numbers have been updated with the amounts included in our quarterly report ending December 31st, 2025. This first slide is a graph showing the amount received and how much has been spent and encumbered for ARPA and CRF. The great news is we have spent and encumbered 100% of the ARPA funds. I'll briefly touch on the CRF funds, but the majority of the presentation today is related to ARPA. The first source of funding I will go over are coronavirus relief funds. When this funding was awarded, the city placed it all towards staffing expenses, which freed up $2.6 million in general funds. 85% of those funds have been expended. A couple of the projects completed in the last quarter were the fire sprinkler renovations for Cuauhtemoc Hall, and we also paid for the ARPA consultant over the past year from this source. And here's a list of the projects funded through CRF. I will not go through every single one of these, but that is so that the public knows where we're at with them. Next slide. Shifting over to ARPA, this slide shows that we have spent almost 95% of the $18 million the city received. The projects listed are just a few that had funds spent between October and December of 2025. Next slide. Here's the beginning of a list of all the projects that were funded through ARPA. A more detailed update that includes the project name, description, amount allocated, amount spent, and amount available was attached as backup to this item, both in the packet and on the council message board. And if we go to the next slide, here is the rest of that list. It's quite a few. Next slide. I'll now shift to talking about a proposed reallocation. All ARPA funds had to be obligated by the end of 2024. However, guidance from the federal government does allow for a shift if more funding is needed for an obligated project. This first slide lists a few projects that have available funding, and we'll go through these in more detail. And this one lists the two that we recommend the funding go toward. As a reminder, all available funding must be reallocated to projects and programs that are already funded by ARPA and have an existing contract. I'll start with the projects with available funding. Each of the projects on this list have some funding available as they have been completed or the cost came in below initial estimates. The total amount is $320,000. Currently, the city has about $245,000 in ARPA funding remaining for housing rehabilitation. Last year, the housing rehab program focused on serving people who submitted their applications in 2024, but still had to resolve title or other issues before they could be approved for funding. We needed to spend CDBG funding first so that it was spent in a timely manner. We will not be able to use all of the ARPA funding by the deadline since we are restarting the housing rehab program. There's also some funding available for what was allocated for one of the cybersecurity positions. The position became vacant last year, and it was decided to not fill the position due to the uncertainty regarding budget capacity beginning in 2027. The last line item is the Caregiver Support Program, from which we have distributed over $50,000 worth in diapers over multiple events. This reallocation will zero out the line item. I'll now shift to discussing some of the current programs that we recommend receive the available funding. In 2024 and 2025, the city spent all the CDBG funding and $600,000 of ARPA funding. The city's focus was on major repairs such as full roof replacements, foundation repair, plumbing, electrical, siding, and HVAC. The city served 27 houses using 3 contractors as general contractor, and the city followed the same process for all the funding so the houses could be swapped among the funding sources to spend CDBG funding first. This included income verification, whole house inspection, lead paint assessment, and a 20% general contractor oversight cost. We're proposing to provide this additional funding that's still available toward the organization's Operation Triage and Mission Able. Last year, Mission Able served 81 households on 149 different projects using over 6,800 volunteer hours. Mission Able uses volunteers where possible, focusing on small home repairs and yard work, including removal of dead trees that are impacting homes. In 2024, Mission Able used some of their funding when they partnered with the city for debris removal in response to the May 9th storm. Operation Triage has spent about $290,000 and served 31 households. However, they also received approximately $532,000 of in-kind donations from homeless home supply vendors and contractors in the trades, so they have done over $800,000 in work. They focused on home repair, including plumbing, electrical, HVAC, roof repair, and accessibility improvements. Due to the success of the programs, the proposed reallocation has an additional $100,000 going to Operation Triage and another $100,000 going to Mission Able to continue providing a home rehabilitation program in our community as the city program is restarted. In total, these organizations had already received $800,000. It was $400,000 towards each of them. And whenever I looked last week, over $700,000 of that had been expended. The final item is for an additional year of the contract with Booth Management Consulting for ARPA grant consultant services. These services are needed as we wrap up the ARPA program to ensure the 78 projects and programs that were allocated funding are reviewed, closed out, and proper documentation is collected. The next step is to bring back a resolution with the reallocation at your next meeting. We will also continue working with Booth Management Consulting to ensure continued compliance and continue the documentation process for projects as we close them out. The direction I am seeking this afternoon is if council is okay with the proposed reallocation of American Rescue Plan funding. I think we have a couple of slides that show that reallocation again. If we could go to the questions and discussion slide. But before I conclude, I want to take a moment and thank Mayor and Council for the direction they have provided throughout this process. I also want to acknowledge the staff who have identified projects and programs that help the community and who have the responsibility of making them a reality. I'll now be happy to answer any questions and receive council direction. If you could go back to the slide with the green table.
Okay, council, I need to know what your thoughts are on this, but I also want to bring up the potential of the $5,000 for the pet food drive for, that PALS is doing, and PALS Prevent a Litter Services. That we've already got a contract with them to do some things. And so I would suggest that we take $5,000 from either one of these, y'all decide. It might be easier to take it out of the grant consultant, since the other would be split. but I'm checking to see if y'all are interested in doing this. This is an opportunity that we have that keeps pets in the home where they're loved.
I'm okay with that.
Mayor, I have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
So, sorry, I just tuned in. Of all the past ARPA grant recipients that we may be able to give money to, I'm just like a little bit confused as to why there's only one recommendation of a program.
Well, there's actually two. It's these two are the ones that you're recommending, correct? The
That's
staff
correct.
is recommending, and then I'm adding the one about the $5,000 for PALS for discussion, but we're discussing all of it. So do you have access to what the screen, what we have on the screen?
Yeah, I just
Okay.
meant, I mean, the ARPA grant consultant, like that's a staff position. Like, I feel like that I kind of know what that is, but specifically for Operation Triage and Mission Able, I didn't find this in the slides, but I have asked this multiple times, like for me to feel comfortable allocating money, regardless of the funding source, I need to see like the deliverables. Like 100 houses means nothing to me if I don't know their geographic distribution, the socioeconomic status of the people who receive the services. Like, how do I know that these services are being provided equitably, and that they are, like, how do I understand the fullness of the scope of the projects? Even saying $100 some have been rehabilitated doesn't really give me a whole lot of information.
No, that's fair. I do have some of the numbers that have been provided by Mission Able and Operation Triage. I do not know, I mean, they've got to have that geographic distribution. I just don't know that they've actually mapped that out. And you are correct that not all of that information is in the PowerPoint. I didn't have some of that until yesterday afternoon, asking for some of the specific numbers.
Is that something that we, as I don't know that they have GIS systems and we do, if we had the addresses of all of those homes and maybe we could have two colors, one for Triage and one for Able, that it could be mapped for us, Ms. Garza, would that go partially towards what you're requesting?
Right. And when I say how do I know, I mean, like, how do I know to be able to report it to my neighbors? Because I don't think it's a secret that I'm like fond of both these programs. I just want to be able to support the decision like fully and with corresponding.
So what specific data are you
Documents.
requesting besides location?
Right. So even a reminder of what is their selection process, right? And I have found that both those programs have very competent and leaders that are willing to come speak. Like even them, this last time that Mission Able spoke, they were able to shed some light on like specific case studies, or even like what are some barriers that they experienced in like trying to make folks comfortable with using the program, for example, like stuff like that. I think that's more qualitative, but in terms of quantitative, yeah, geographic distribution, a reminder of their qualifications, and yeah, like what generally are they fixing in folks' homes? And just like more background on like the SES of the recipients.
On the what of their recipients?
Socioeconomic.
Socioeconomic
Yes.
Okay, I can't quite hear her. I'm having trouble hearing her, so. Did you have anything else? I'm writing this stuff down. I see Mr. Meagle is also. Let me check with the rest of the council. Yeah, go ahead, finish.
Oh, that's all I have for now.
Okay, and I'll ask for council approval for this. Ms. Rodriguez?
Yes, I want to share, or I guess elevate the ask that Ms. Garza made, mainly because the homelessness committee, oh shoot, it was sometime last year, I can't remember exactly. But we got a brief presentation from Mission Able at that time, and there were many things during that discussion that I wasn't aware that they did. But I have actually never gotten anything from Operation Triage to know. And so I say all that to say I am definitely not opposed to the reallocation as currently proposed, or recommended, I should say. But yeah, I want to second to ask for that additional information, and maybe even, just a question on, I guess, process. I'm imagining this is going to come back at a regular meeting?
Yes, that's
Okay.
correct. And I was thinking, luckily, with the schedule this month, due to spring break, that next meeting is actually pushed back a couple more weeks, giving
Okay.
us even more time to gather that information before you vote on a resolution reallocating the funding.
Perfect, okay. Then yeah, I'm fine with all that Ms. Garza asked, and thank you, Mr. Migo, for all your work. It's always a pleasure working with you.
I think what would be helpful, and I'm on the Mission Able site now, is what their request forms. They've got a service request, home rehab, and some other things. I think that would be helpful, but I think maybe what we're looking for is when you get 10, 100 applications, what criteria do you use to choose which people are going to, or which homes are going to receive the help? What's their just kind of policy of who gets first? Ms. Garza, is that where you were going?
Right. And I just like, I'm curious, like, is there, when we map things out, typically we're able to see, if there's any like gaps, like, is there a gap in, community outreach where some folks perhaps may be hesitant to reach out and trust, just given their experience with, like flood recovery type of programs, right? Like, is there concentrations in our community that might benefit from the program that we are not reaching out to, right? So if we're gonna proceed with giving more funding to the organization, I think a stipulation could be, or, we can work together towards this, is like amplifying the program and the qualifications, if there are any gaps that are identified. And then my other question was, Mayor, you asked about the funding of the food, the pet food pantry.
ma'am.
And y'all know I'm like a crazy cat lady and everything. But I think for the viewers at home, like a kind of a breakdown of like why we're limited to like a certain list of folks to give this money to might be helpful, right? Because the last thing I want is for organizations that are also in need right now, as most nonprofits are, to see this meeting and think, oh, well, we didn't know that we could, email city council to petition for money. But my understanding is that it's limited to the folks that we already have contracts with, and that
Yes,
list
ma'am.
is what? Like, is it like a,
It's
All those folks on the
it's-
pages
it's those
before
two-
with the
it's-
small
It's
print.
those two slides that have 3 columns each.
Yeah.
Yes, we are limited only to those programs or projects that were already obligated prior to December 31st, 2024.
And does it have to be for similar activities, Mr. Mingle? like-
Yes, we were.
yes, that was gonna be my next
We were
question.
fairly broad in our agreements, which works out for us in this case. But yes, it has to be for a similar type activity.
Okay.
Yeah, if this were at the beginning of the project and we could add different groups, I would say, yep, if we're going to do this, let's pick a number and advertise it. But since we're so close to the end now and we can only go with folks who are already on our list, I'm suggesting something that maybe I wouldn't normally suggest in the way that I'm doing it. Just because we're
Right.
getting close to the end, and I'm a better late than never.
Right, but we're saying, I'm sorry, just for clarification, the column of the list of folks that are eligible, it's the one that says ARPA funding?
Yes. It should,
Is it page 10?
Can we pull it up
Miss-
on the?
Page 10.
it is, beginning on page 10 and continuing on to page 11.
Ms. Fontenot, can we please pull that up on the screen?
The one that
Right,
starts with
yeah.
ARPA funding. One's
Gotcha.
3 column, the other's 2 column. It's just a few slides back.
Gotcha. Yeah, just so that, folks understand that as well. A lot of these are items that, we're not gonna go and refund antivirus technology software, right? Or like programs that, yeah, like just that, it wouldn't make sense to put some money towards. But yeah, I just wanted to name that. I appreciate the information.
And a question on that, Mayor, because it wasn't necessary. I know the request that you're talking about. So it's matching funds. They're
Right.
going to, we provide 5, so they provide 5, 10,000 total. The advertising of that, though, it wasn't really talked about on, the city's contribution, how it's going to be shared with people and those things. Do we have any information on that? Because I haven't actually got really much information on the rollout of it, like how much food that's supposed to cover.
Yeah.
Sort of the things that we kind of ask questions about when we
Right.
previously have given money.
That, I do not know, but I will tell you, and this is gonna be weird coming from me, I don't need to know that to know I wanna allocate 5,000 towards it, but those are questions that we need answered. And this is not our final decision. We're given a preference today. It's going to come back to us in a formal manner, in which to make this decision to vote on.
Okay, that helps because it is weird to hear you say that,
Yeah, it
because I
is.
know that those are your typical preferences, and I
Yep.
do, like Ms. Garza mentioned, I do support the idea of it. I've talked with some of the people who've made the ask, but I think to keep good practice with precedent, how we've previously done things, in the same way I would like information about the home rehab is the same way I would like more information about how the money is to be used. Just to be fair.
But at this point, council, I need to know, are we heading down the right path? Because if not,
Yes,
now is
ma'am.
the time to say so. Mr. Gonzalez?
So, two things, Mayor. First, and I'm not necessarily against this, I'm just kind of confused as to why we're doing it. Why is the consultant getting an additional 120,000? Because my understanding is the only reason we have money is because these other 3 projects or items.
Mr. Meagle can answer that. I
Have
had those same questions.
excess
And
funds.
it's not a person
It is
hiring
not
a
a
person.
person.
Well,
It's actually
no, I understand.
multiple people from an outside company that is doing a lot of work following up on each of these 78 projects and programs, doing a risk review, seeing what level of documentation is needed for every single one of these, and honestly, doing that work so I don't have to, because I've got a lot of other tasks.
Well, we
But
got to get
yes,
this
'cause
right.
I-
It's kind of like pre-auditing, kind of, sort of, in a
Yes.
way.
Yes.
So,
And
yeah, we're not hiring employees.
Oh,
You
no,
can-
I understand that, but I guess where I'm coming from is, had these other 3 projects not had excess funds, whatever dollar amount the consulting firm received is the dollar amount they would have received. So the way I'm looking at it is reallocating these $320,000 is gonna cost $120,000 worth of work from them.
No.
Which I know isn't that clear, but I'm just,
My
That's,
understanding,
that's what I asked.
had we
and-
not had this $320,000 extra, they would have not gotten any extra, so
No.
why are they getting extra?
No, we
My
would've-
first question was, did we not allocate the money to fully fund this in the first place? But this was on the message board.
no, we would have had to find $120,000. The bill is the bill. We would have had to find it from other sources in order to make that extra 120. And so, and one of the things with Mr. Meagle is when we looked at administration costs for the dollar amount, when you think of CDBG and others, sometimes it's 10 to 20% for administration. This one's 2.5%. So it's relatively small. There's a lot of strings that were attached to ARPA monies that we didn't necessarily understand, and we've had to navigate through the help of this consultant.
Yep.
And it's also something where we know we got direction from y'all of like, make sure that this money gets spent and that we don't give any money back. And so we've tried to make sure
But
that
these
we're staying
people are
compliant.
professionals in the ARPA
Correct.
rules and stuff,
Correct.
which we're not going,
Critical.
I'm sorry, Mr. Meagle, but we're just not going to be at the knowledge that they have. No shade, but,
I'd rather not be.
yeah.
I mean, they're working with other cities, and they may have seen like a certain circumstance of like, oh, this is what happened over here, and which helps us to make sure that we're doing this as diligent as possible. So that's the explanation. We would have had to find the money somewhere else. It's just this happened to be available, so that's why we're proposing this funding source. Mayor and council, y'all can
Is this
direct
coming
anything
in
else.
more expensive than what we thought? Is
No.
that why we
It's
didn't
right
have enough
about-
allocated?
It's right about in line. So
So why do
whenever,
we need another 120?
so every year has been 110.
Oh,
We originally allocated 220,000
Okay.
from ARPA funding.
okay,
Honestly, I wasn't quite sure how we were going to fund years 3 and 4. So for year 3, we actually switched the source of funding for this over to the coronavirus relief funding,
okay.
which is still pandemic funding, but that's the freed up general fund dollars. This one, seeing that there was some available ARPA funding, we were like, we can switch it back for this final year to be paid for from ARPA funding.
Okay, so basically it came in higher than what we thought, and it's something that we need.
Not really higher than we thought. I guess it is taking the amount of time, or maybe more time than we thought it would, just because of the amount of documentation needed for everyone.
More than what we thought.
Yeah.
Did all that answer your question, Mr.
Yes.
Gonzalez?
So I guess my second point, and is, I guess, to where we spend the 200,000. And again, I'm not opposed to these two organizations. I just feel that with limited funds, there's other organizations that can do more good for more people. So my immediate thoughts were the food bank, or even in discussions with staff, my understanding is that the money that we've allocated to rental and utility assistance is pretty much gone at this point. 700 of the 800,000 that we previously allocated has been spent. So I would, I guess, want to see y'all's opinions on possibly putting money into those programs. that
Give us a
could-
list.
So off the top of my head, the food bank and BR3T, only because I feel like they can do more good with more people than what either of these other two proposed programs could, just because the work that Mission Triage, or Mission Able and Operation Triage do, the individual projects are more expensive, so they are able to help less neighbors than what the food bank or BR3T could.
Yeah, Mr. Miegel, was the spreadsheet in the message board of how much we've spent on each one of these other agencies?
Yes, it has the amount that has been allocated toward each, the amount that has been spent on each. So I guess for that rental assistance program through BR3T, we have allocated, the city has allocated a total of $217,418.99. The last I checked, $203,496 of that has been spent. So there was still $13,000 remaining, but I can let you know there has been a lot of need in the community, and they have provided a lot of assistance.
There's a lot of need. Okay, finally got the spreadsheet downloaded and open. Oh, that's CRF, okay.
And staff isn't really, we're willing to take any direction that council provides. I'll just give you the thought process, is that funding was coming from our in-city home repair program. Those are two organizations that are providing a home repair program. But yeah, as you point out, there's needs throughout the community.
The money that we gave to the food bank was the 200,000 that was for the new facility.
Correct.
So, the money for food is coming through HSAB, correct?
Correct.
Or whatever
yes.
they're requesting.
Yes.
Okay, and is BRT3 the only place that I'm sorry, I was trying to open the spreadsheet, I'm sure you said this. Is BR3T the only place that we had rental assistance?
Yes.
Okay,
Now, I'd have to verify this. There might be a little caveat on the food bank. I think they were also one of the recipients that received the ARPA funding that we provided to HSAB to
Oh, they
provide
would
to
have.
organizations.
yeah, that 250,
So,
I mean, you could say it was the first 500, the other 250, but everybody was able to get more because we put 50% more in the program for that year.
but I believe there were only a couple, maybe 2 or 3 organizations that were actually kind of designated the ARPA funding through that, and I believe the food bank was one of those.
Okay. Is that all for the moment, Mr. Gonzalez?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll circle back. Ms. Rodriguez and then Ms. Garza.
Are we speaking to that proposal? Or what is the question?
Well, I'm kind
I had
of
a
just
question
writing
from-
stuff down. If you want to talk about something different, we will circle back to this.
I mean, no, this all, as much as I love talking about giving nonprofits more money, this feels very much like an HSAB conversation right now. And considering how weird that has been the last 2 times I've been through it on the dais, yeah, I don't think anybody's arguing that you could probably name many other organizations that are undoubtedly deserving of money. I think the reason I was okay with the ones, the 2 as presented is because I've talked to a lot of people in the community who have been in their homes for a very long time. And it's like gente too, have been in their homes for a very long time, and it's been passed down after generation. But when we talk about affordable housing, that's not just price on the market. That's also people being able to afford to live in their homes. And so y'all's first owner-occupied housing rehab program that you cited earlier, I actually had the chance to talk to some of the recipients of that. It was life-changing for them. I mean, you're
Yes.
talking about quality of life improvements and enhancements in ways in which.
It's prevention of homelessness.
Right, displacement.
That's how we kind of got into
Displacement.
this.
And so,
Yes.
you know, while normally I would feel very weird about suggest like staff coming with suggestions, I was willing to, and I am still. I hear you on the food bank, and the food bank knows, BR3T knows. I've talked to both of those heads of organizations. They know how I feel and admire their organization. But in hearing and speaking with the people who have been recipients of the owner-occupied housing rehab program, I think that's why I'm so willing to support it as proposed. My question, though, from earlier when I asked you for the time was, I hear you on like the 120, and that makes sense, your explanation. But when we talk about pulling the 5,000 from the 120, are we not, like, what is the amount we're actually contractually obligated to give the consultant? And if it's not 120,000, or if it is 120,000, us pulling 5, does that mean we're going to have to supplement that with 5,000 from general fund? Or
So
how does that work?
We know it's 120, is that the question?
That's what I'm trying to ask.
Are
If
you
that's
looking
our
for up to
contractual-
120 that we may not need to use all of it? Or do we even know, are we going to know before December?
We will know before December. I'm still waiting on a finalized quote from
Okay.
the consultant, because they had provided me a preliminary one. I said, wait, I think you forgot a few, and they need to get back to me with that number. I think that we will still need to dip into the CRF to possibly finalize that contract. It might
Okay.
even be a little bit over 120.
Okay.
But
Darn.
saying that, I'm still finalizing some other numbers
Oh,
in other, so that cybersecurity position. That is a guess with me looking at something throughout the rest of this year. So it's possible that I might be able to increase that one by $5,000 by the time I come back to you at the end of March.
Okay, because what I was gonna see if you would be amenable to, if, you know, the numbers don't balance out the way we want them to, is of the 200, I think it's 200,000 that we were proposing for rehab, it's 5,000 pulling from that rather than pulling, if we're contractually obligated for that 120, let's say now we are, I would prefer that versus dipping into, you know, needing supplemental funds
no,
from elsewhere.
that's fine. I'm hoping that as you go through, and I'll call it the drips and drabs, the leftovers,
Yes.
I'm hoping that'll pull 5.
Yes,
It may or may not,
I
but,
think it will.
okay. Yeah. Well, see, that's
Well,
that's
and-
what I need to, that's what we need to know about the 120 is, you know, firm, I was hoping it was an up to and we wouldn't need it all.
And honestly, that's why I still have a little bit of that CRF funding available if I,
Yeah.
I think
Okay.
if y'all are amenable to doing the 5 from the 200 and then, because we
That's
may
fine.
need CRF for more.
Mayor.
Okay, did you have anything else? Because I need to go to Ms. Garza if you're done. Ms. Garza, you were next.
Thank you, Mayor. So I am thinking, just based on the conversation and what Councilman um, Gonzalez mentioned, I do feel some kind of way about seemingly like making a decision based on like personal conversations and vibes when it comes to the impact of Mission Able, Operation Triage, and things like rental assistance. Um, I hear all the argument, and I've worked really hard to even make it so that programs related to home rehabilitation that were a bit more strict, make it so that they're more achievable for qualification for our neighbors. Like I hear the argument that it's really important to help folks fix their homes. But thinking about the conversation we have in the homelessness committee, where Trell is basically saying, yeah, we have these services, but there's not a whole lot we can do when the neighbor is calling because they have an eviction due to non-payment, right? Like it just is what it is. There aren't very many services to help people from being kicked out to the streets like present day. All of that to say, my worry is that we could probably secure more money for home rehabilitation in the future, but securing money for eviction prevention, rental assistance is a lot less likely, in my opinion. I would like to see, and I'm not sure if staff is able to do this, but what do the numbers say regarding impact, right? I know in the past it's been like, $100,000, typically just given like past trends can assist 20 people because like the average allocation for rental assistance is $3,000, or you know what I mean, or like five, whatever. That was bad math, but y'all know what I mean. Like what would be the reach and the impact of each of those organizations given 120,000 or whatever money we land on? And I don't know if that's a question to ask them directly, but I think that would help me be able to feel a lot more confident in supporting where this money is going to. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's something that I try to kind of roll around in my head is pick a number, 100,000. How many people can be helped by that in different ways? I think that's maybe what Mr. Gonzalez was talking about, the ROI, or some people call it the bang for the buck. And I think that's something that at some point we just have to kind of determine what our priorities are. We'll get some data to help us make those decisions. But at some point, we just have to figure it out and choose which way we want to go.
Yes, ma'am.
Right. No, I understand. I think those numbers would be helpful. It's just so difficult once people have an eviction on their record. It's difficult like, in general for people to find affordable housing in the area. But once you have that eviction on your record, I mean, good luck. I hope you have a tia or tia you can couch surf in until you find somebody willing to rent to you. Yeah.
Okay, so where are we at this point? Are we ready to make an initial decision, or do we need all of this data before folks are comfortable making the decision? And what I've got is for the home repair map, the applications, what's the policy as best it can be defined as to who gets at the top of the list. And I don't know how to answer this or how we're going to find this, but where are the barriers to applications? And part of that is just getting the word out. But, I mean, I guess you're talking about, does you have to fill it out online? Does somebody need to, of course, the library will help people do that. And so I don't even know what all they would be. or how we would even determine that. I would have no idea of knowing who's not going to fill it out because they can't do it online and don't know that the library will help them. I don't know
Yeah.
how we find that number.
Mayor, you bring up a good point, because Ms. Garza, or Mayor, remind me, because y'all are both in that meeting. When they were talking, they being Mission Able, when they were talking about their application program, we did have some questions on some of the questions within that application program. And given like the faith-based nature of their whole operation, whether like that applies to the people who are recipients or that decision is secular. And so I don't remember what the result of that conversation was, nor do I have a copy of the application, but maybe in the documents that we're requesting.
Yeah,
That's a good point.
Mission Able began as part of the First Baptist Church, but they are now a separate 501c3 organization and have been for several years, I don't remember how long, which I think was what they felt they needed to do to make sure that people would feel comfortable applying. I don't want to speak for them, but I'm sure that helped. Okay, Mr. Paselk, what you think?
I ultimately would just lean on the wisdom of the current dais. I have not been privy to all these conversations. If I had a personal preference, I'd probably go with the two as presented, just because for me, it seems like an investment into somebody's house. It's got some staying power, and although rent and utility assistance is super important, I see Alyssa's point, I see everybody's point. I think we're probably on the same page, so, but if I was going to choose today, I'd go with the ones as presented.
Okay, where are you on the pet food? And I'm okay if we want to say, let's wait and see if we end up with, like I said, some bits and pieces for leftover from others and make that decision later.
Yeah, I think we should head in that direction, and however it ends up landing, advise me, you know.
Okay, so you are, okay, I'm gonna put this as Sultan and home repair. I'm gonna put you there, okay. Mr. Scott? Would you, there, I put, the control room turned on your microphone.
Yeah, as it was presented, and wait on the cat food and dog food.
Okay,
Just out of curiosity, wasn't there like this, like $1 million just recently given to the house? Big
Yeah,
donations to
don't-
make
I
behind?
don't know,
Yeah,
I have no idea.
I heard that.
That's
To
a really
what
good
entity?
question. I'd be interested to know if that's the case.
Okay, we'll find out. That may have been, if they did, that may have been to help them acquire the facility that they are now in.
I just heard $1
$1
million.
million. I wonder if those folks got another $1 million somewhere that they're not using. Anyway, okay, Mr. Mendoza.
Thank you, Mayor. I have always been a advocate for rehab in this situation. I'm a big fan of these two organizations. I'm strong on preserving generational wealth for some of these families that have had, we're talking generational, just generations living in one household, like Buddy Pascal or somewhere where they're just trying to build a wall or get air conditioning or get water heaters. I'm in favor of the way it's presented, and I'm in favor of however we can get money from PALS.
Yeah, I
Before
think this is way more than a water heater.
Oh,
Of
yes,
the
ma'am.
work that they're doing.
Yes, ma'am, but it's just one of those things, a water heater makes a difference. Little things that they can find, the example being the Pennington situation, but yes.
I mean,
ma'am.
I suspect that they would help with that, but with the home repair, I've seen the video of some of the places that
Oh,
they
yes,
have been, and it was,
New floors, foundation issues.
no, I'm talking about the house that a wall just gave way,
Oh, absolutely, one of the first ones on Rodriguez Street. Yes,
Yeah.
ma'am.
so.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so you are for the two staff recommendations?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
What about pet food?
I'm okay with that, as long as we can find the money.
Okay. Mr. Gonzalez?
Yeah. So I guess we'll work backwards. Okay with the pet food, wherever we find the funds for it, whether it comes out of the 200 or we're able to magically find 5,000 somewhere else. And then, I mean, I think I've said my piece with where the 200 should go, but it seems like council, the majority of council is okay with the way it's presented, so, I mean, I'm fine with that as well.
Okay. Well, it's not like we're throwing it away. Ms. Garza?
I still want all the information. And if I don't think it's a big ask to have staff look into that or request it. And I don't think it needs the whole body to do that. Like if I had somebody that I could hire to be my researcher, I would have them do that, but I don't. But I think that that's just information that our community should also be privy to, because this is money that we were blessed with to make decisions for their best interest. So, my position hasn't changed. I
Okay.
would still want to see all the information.
Let me ask council, are y'all also wanting the information that we have talked about that Ms. Garza initiated so that we can know more? And if nothing else, it's easier to explain to people how we spent the money, that we'll have that data? Okay, so that's a yes. I am in no means by asking you today saying that we're not going to do that, but today we're giving a preference, and then whenever it comes back to us to actually vote on, then we should have at least the majority of that information. And then at that point, when we get ready to vote on it, if you want to suggest something different, we can certainly do that.
Gotcha.
So are you okay if we keep moving down this path and get that information, so that will help you next time?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, all right. Ms. Rodriguez?
What? There was another question?
I'm just confirming where, the direction that you want us to go in.
Oh, yes, yeah, everything that's been requested. And then, in
Everything?
addition to, what Mr. Scott asked about PALs. I'm not making I'm not providing a finite decision on anything, but yeah, just saying I request the same information and so far concur with the recommendations.
Okay, so you are good with the two recommendations. Do you want to put Food Bank and BR3T on the list? When you say everything that was discussed,
I thought that,
that's
but
part
I
of
thought
what's
Mr.
discussed.
Gonzalez said that when he looked around the dais, that there wasn't consensus for that, so.
Well,
Did I
that's-
mishear that, or?
No?
Well, I
No,
just
so I
want to
But
be
when
clear
you
that
said I'm okay with
I
everything
meant-
that's been suggested,
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the things that I've already said I was for.
Okay.
That wasn't one of them.
Okay.
And then, I don't know, as far as timing is concerned, Mr. Meagle, I know you had mentioned that in the future, we're gonna be able to discover what the final amount of that grant consultant is. But if there's preliminary information on that before our next conversation about this, I'd appreciate it. Even if it's just like a fraction of a cent off, I'm fine with that, but that'll guide my decision on where we pull that. If the council decides to pull 5,000, that'll guide that decision.
yeah, sure. Okay, so you're looking to.
Mayor, I just wanted to
Yes,
be
ma'am.
clear that I meant, when I said I want all the information, I also meant the BR3T information. I just wanted to be clear when I said that.
Yes, yes,
Okay.
got it.
And I guess what all the other, or the questions of the animal, the food pantry, yeah.
Okay. So, Mr. Meagle, at this point, we are asking you to continue down the path that you have presented. We're going to do some checking about the animals, and you have a list of the items data that we hope we can gather all of that and provide that with our, when this comes to us for a vote.
Yes,
Is that good?
I think so.
Ms. Reyes, are we good? Council? All right, then we will close out item 1, and we will go to item 2.
The city council will convene an executive session pursuant to section 551.086 confidential utility and competitive matters of the Texas Government Code to deliberate regarding and consider approval of an amendment to the wholesale power agreement with Lower Colorado River Authority.
Looking for a motion? Ms. Rodriguez gets the motion, Mr. Mendoza is the second. Ms. Trevino? Oh, wait, I'm sorry, Ms. Garza's got her hand up.
It's from earlier.
Oh, she's just voting, okay, thank you.
Mr. Basalk?
Aye.
Ms. Garza?
Yeah.
Thank
She
you.
said thumbs up.
Mayor
Yes,
Houston?
yes.
Mr. Scott?
Aye.
Mr. Mendoza?
Aye.
Mr. Gonzalez?
Aye.
Ms. Rodriguez?
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0.
Okay, so we're going into executive session at 3:55. Council, if you need a break, take 5 minutes and meet up in the conference room. We have returned from our executive session at 4:29. We are now to the Q&A portion of our program. Ms. Reyes, I believe we have someone who is online. So, Mr. Baker, 3 minutes.
Yes, my name is Maxfield Baker. You know, I really appreciate all that you all did with the ARPA stuff. My question regarding that is, it seemed like there was some background information, especially with, several new council members, quote unquote, new council members coming on while a lot of this money had been encumbered. The community has often asked, and myself as a council member and other council members like Garza have asked that the packets be more complete on that front. And there was seemingly a willingness of staff to work on that as well. Can you all speak to, what efforts are being made to have the packet be more complete, particularly as it relates to the background information section of these packets, referencing other meetings that could be watched to talk about these things for both council and community members' input? My other question is regarding the executive session item. As you all are likely aware, council members can vote to waive their executive privilege to discuss what legal advice they have received in executive session. It does take, a majority of council to do that. My question is, are any of you willing to help us understand, even in a limited way, what this executive session item is about? Many folks would read this and assume that it is related to data centers, and that would be my read on it as well. So yeah, the question would be, has council been made aware that they do have the right to waive executive session privileges, as just a standalone question? And then the following being, are any of you all willing to make that motion and potentially let us know whether this is in regards to data centers? With the reason being, we saw the public citizen output not only extend to city council, but we saw it also extend to the county commissioner's court, and notably here, the Clearwater CCN as well. We're seeing folks know where they need to go and mobilize, and it would be really helpful if we could get some direction from council as to whether we need to also be petitioning the Lower Colorado River Authority to not accept data centers in their plans. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Gary, can you address the second item, and I'll address the first one a little bit?
Yes, Mayor. I can say this, I cannot disclose the details of what was discussed in executive session with regard to competitive power purchase. This is something the city has done periodically. It involves LCRA, which is listed in the caption, and they are the primary provider, our wholesale provider of electric power that we then distribute to our customers. And I can attest that the concept of data centers or discussion of data centers was not even mentioned or part of the discussion. It is, and the other thing is that it was not for legal advice. It was just the competitive power purchase wholesale agreement. And part of the issue of, waiving our right to have something in executive session. Mr. Baker's right, there are occasions where council may see fit, but this is a little different because it involves a third party who's providing wholesale power to the city, and it would affect certain confidentiality and obligations they have in terms of how they purchase power and set their rates and so forth.
Okay, and I will go back and talk about the first one. And Mr. Baker, if you're talking about the more details instead of just the names of the entities and the dollars, I know that you're familiar with the message board because I think one time you and I were the only ones actively using it. There was more information in the message board per some questions that I asked, and the spreadsheet that we were talking about that that shows how much money has been spent, how much money was allocated, was in the message board for the public. Ms. Reyes, I think that whenever this is on our regular agenda for voting, that information, the detailed information has been provided. And honestly, I was kind of surprised it wasn't in this one too. So can we
We can put
make
more
that
information.
request and be assured that that level of detail
Yeah, we can get
will
with
be
that.
provided?
I know we have one new council member, and so that is something that we're trying to look at as context, but trying to find the balance, the right balance. And
Right.
so getting the information together is not something, and I will be honest, no human being is perfect to anticipate every single question that council will have, but we can definitely do our best to try to do as best as we can to do better.
I think when we're talking about ARPA dollars and how much is left, I think that that's going to be the reasonable question, is, where have the dollars been spent so far, especially if someone is not totally familiar with it. So, Mr. Meagle, I just said
That is
that,
included, though, in the information we provided. Yeah,
the spreadsheet,
it's on the message board.
that's what I said, it's
But
on the
we will-
message
but
board.
we will
It
put
needs
it-
to be in the
And in
packet.
the packet.
And in the packet as well.
And
It's
in
in
the
both.
There's
Yeah. How'd I miss it?
the last couple of pages are the entire
It-
breakdown
it's
of
the
it.
Oh, it
entire
was all
spreadsheet.
the breakdown at the end.
Yes.
So it was in there. My
Yes.
bad.
Correct.
I provide a PDF
Oh.
version in the packet, and
That's the difference.
There's an Excel spreadsheet on the message board.
Yes, the whole end of this thing is all the detail, but the spreadsheet, because sometimes I ask for the spreadsheet so I can sort these differently, et cetera, or even just make the numbers bigger in these little boxes. So, my bad, it was there, I just didn't go through and look at it. Well, when I say I was surprised it wasn't in there, I was wrong, but it was in there.
Yes.
There we go. Okay. In that case, there being no further business, I will adjourn us at 4:36. Over and out.